to satsang. ये दरवाजा बंद कर दीजिएगा भैया. ये so beautiful to be together, and welcome also to those of you who have joined for our New Year's retreat. We're having a very special 4-day or 3.5-day retreat for New Year's. If you're not in the retreat and you want to join, feel free to stay back and talk to our Seva team after satsang. But today is the first day. I know a lot of you have just come in, joined in for the retreat. So a beautiful welcome to you all as well. And this is really, whether you've come for the retreat or whether you've come just for a day or two on your own. It's so beautiful and so powerful to have that vision and awareness of, okay, I have a few days for holiday, thoda sa chutti mili. And there's so much pressure outside, but also in the mind. Sometimes says, let's just go to the beach and lie on the beach. And whether you're a pina colada drinker or not a pina colada drinker, either way, there's that vision of holiday is, on the beach. Or out at some resort, or, shopping in some other country. And yet you've all made this beautiful decision to be here, which, whenever I'm walking through the ashram or walking back into my office or out, wherever it is, people will come up and so frequently they'll say, bless me, or bless my child. And it's beautiful. It's that bhav of that sacred emotion, sacred feeling of people who are devotees. And yet, what I always say is, if you are here, you are already blessed. If you've been able to have the clarity of mind to cut through all of that, coming from media, coming from advertising, coming from culture, coming from habit, coming from the, man mange, more, the mind just wants more. If you've been able to cut through that and to come and spend your holidays on the banks of Ganga in an ashram, doing spiritual retreat, whether part of the official retreat or not, either way, whether you're here to meditate or listen to katha or a whole package, you've had that beautiful clarity, and that is such a blessing. Such a blessing. So I wanted to just start by letting everybody know, it's not just random that you're here. You should give yourself a very sincere pat on the back or applause or good one, whatever it is that makes you feel like you've been acknowledged. Because it's not easy. It's not easy. And yet you've done it. So I'm very happy to see everybody. And we always begin satsang with a question that comes in advance. Our Ganga Arati and the satsang and our morning fire ceremony. And so many programs are streamed online live for our family all over the world. And in satsang, they send in questions. And I always start with one from them, given that they're not blessed in the way of being here physically with us on the banks of Ganga. We start with one that's come in advance, and then we open it up to any question that any of you here have. There's a microphone right here, so feel free to just come up to the mic and share your name and where you're from, and also your question. If everyone knows what is good or bad to do in his or her own life, why do they not follow this? This is asked by RJ. Our mind has many aspects to it. And I'm not going to go into the neurology of the brain and parts of the brain. We won't go there. And we'll, for the sake of this particular question, we'll use mind and brain synonymously. So don't get hung up on what's physical brain, what's mind. But let's just say there's different parts. And one part we'll call our cultured self. The self that knows stealing is wrong, lying is wrong, cheating is wrong, being generous is good, helping others is good, telling the truth is good. And then we've got another part that if you were going to go neurologically, we would speak about as our reptilian brain, or our mammalian brain, which is just a little bit higher than that. And quite literally, they speak about it neurologically, like here we are, brain stem, and it goes quite literally, physically up into the brain. The brain has developed from down to top, from bottom to top, as we have gotten more advanced. But there's this other part that is really very much still the kind of animal aspect of the brain that's like steal it all, grab it all, survival instinct. Not that animals are bad. I mean, I'm an animal lover. But that instinct is one that's really all about physical survival of themselves, of their babies, bears in general, especially black bears. You know, they're nonviolent. But you get between a mama bear and her cubs, and you better pray for your life. Not because she's violent and mean, but because her babies are threatened. And so there's a part of our brain that is still very much a product of our earlier aspects of evolution. Go back tens of thousands of years, go back 1 million or 2 years, and kind of where we were evolutionarily. That was all about grabbing, hoarding. Think about squirrels in the wintertime and nuts in their cheeks and hiding. I mean, we've got that kind of evolutionarily that's like, give it all to me. Who knows how cold the winter is going to be? Who knows whether there's going to be food? I want, everyone to be my mate because I want to just share and spread my DNA. That's the evolutionary thing to do. So we've got these two different aspects of the brain. And I haven't even gotten into like our higher self. I'm just still talking about, in this human body. So we have one part that's our cultured self, our ethical self, our moral self, our dharmic self, yogic self. The self we're proud of. It's in alignment with my values and ethics. And then we've got this whole other kind of animal instinct. Then we've got the part of us that is indoctrinated by the world around us, that gives us very mixed messages. On the one hand, we get the be nice, be kind, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. We've got our judicial systems in place. But simultaneous to that, we've got culture that says, he who dies with the most toys wins. And that the ultimate goal of life is to just have more and more and more. And so we're getting all of these mixed messages around how to be. People go into business, they see, well, I can't possibly be the one who has the most if I'm honest. Those two things cannot simultaneously go together. What do you do? So these are all different reasons why, in response to our RJ's question, that people do something that is out of alignment with what they know to be right. Another reason is simple physiological stress and exhaustion. When we are stressed, we don't think clearly. When we are exhausted, we don't think clearly. When we are dehydrated, we don't think clearly. If we had a team of doctors come in right now and take all of our blood pressure and all of our pulse and all of our, tests, I guarantee you, even being people who are so blessed and so clear to come to a holy place for the holidays, I would bet that a huge percentage of us didn't get enough sleep last night, haven't drank enough water today, are in the throes of some kind of stress, whether we are aware of it or not. Maybe it's just become so much our normal way of being, we don't even notice. But what happens a lot of times is we do things that we later feel badly about because we were stressed, because we were in a rush, because we were exhausted, because our blood sugar was low, we were hungry. For 100 reasons that has nothing to do with you being not a great person or not a good person. They did one of my favorite studies. Those of you who come to Satsang a lot or listen in know that psychological studies are some of my favorite things. And one of my favorite studies was they did a study of students in the seminary, meaning students who were training to become ministers, pastors, religious preachers. So you think people who are going to be spiritual, ethical, moral, inevitably this group is going to be kind of high up. Like these are people in training to guide others in the field of religion and spirituality. And it was a group of Christian seminary students, and they were studying from the Bible the story of the Good Samaritan, which is a story of someone who's a Good Samaritan. We won't go into the whole story here, but you get the picture. Story of someone who helps others. And when they walked out, and that was just part of the class, the researchers didn't change anything. The teacher gave the beautiful lecture on the importance of helping others and why the Bible highlights this story of the Good Samaritan, the one who's helping others. Then the actual study began. They walk out of their class and they've got to get to their next class. Half of the students, because they did this in several classes simultaneously, everything else was the same, but half of them were told that they only had 3 minutes to get to the beginning of their next class, which was across campus. Half of them, the other half, had something like 15 minutes. So half of them were in an artificially hurried stress position. The others were not. The researchers placed a man lying down on the ground outside in their pathway. Could have been hurt, could have been dead, could have been sick. They didn't know, but a man lying on the ground. And what they found was, even coming from a lecture on the Good Samaritan, those who only had 3 minutes to get across campus, only a small percentage of them actually stopped to see what was wrong with this guy lying on the ground. Those who had the full 15, 20 minutes, whatever it was, to get across campus, almost all of them stopped. The simple difference between being in a rush and not being in a rush turned not even just ordinary people, but people who were dedicated to sharing and spreading these religious teachings, turned them into ones who didn't even follow them in their own life 3 minutes after hearing the lecture. They walked right around a guy lying on the middle of the ground. And what that teaches us is the power of our lifestyle, the power of our surroundings. So it's not that we're bad people. It's not that we're hypocritical. It's not that we have a value that says this, but then we act like that, and it means that we're worthless and awful. There's 100 reasons why people don't live according to their values. A more important question, rather than just why does this happen, to me a more important question is, how can we arrange our lives? How can we set our minds and our habits in such a way that we actually live our values? I'm not going to tell you what those values should be. That you will all have to decide. Everybody has their own set of morals and ethics and values. I'm not the moral police. But I do think it's a very worthwhile project to figure out how you can create a life, an external life and an internal life, whereby you are able to live according to your own values and ethics and morals. Because if not, at the end of the day, when it comes to going to sleep, when it comes to looking at yourself in the mirror, when it comes to journaling, when it comes to meditating, inevitably, there's a sense of discomfort. We know that we didn't live according to our values. And this is where the practice of mindfulness is so important. It's where the practice of our meditation that we bring into our life is so important. It's where simply making sure that you're never in so much of a rush that you can't think clearly. Leave a little bit earlier. Or think, all right, I'm going to miss it. Okay, it happens. I'll be late to class. But most of us move through our lives so stressed. And so a beautiful thing to work on while you're here is identifying what it is that makes you stressed. What is it that you're actually stressed about? What is it you're actually rushing for? And then ask yourself one of my most favorite questions in the world, which is it worth it? Is it worth it? And again, I'm not going to give you the answer. It's not for me to decide. It's for you to decide. But is it worth it? Is showing up at that class worth walking by somebody who could be dead on the side of the road? And then having to deal with remembering that you did that. How many times in our life have we made decisions based on some WhatsApp video that we saw, something we saw on social media, something someone else told us? But we take it all in. You think about the whole Ramayana, those of you familiar with it. Think about the whole Ramayana. The whole Ramayana happened, why? Not going into all of the generations ago of karmic threads and Shravan Kumar and whatnot, but just in the immediate precursor to it. The immediate precursor to Bhagawan Ram having to go out into exile for 14 years. What happened? Kaikeyi allowed herself to be influenced by cleaning lady, whispered in her ear, don't you think? We've all got people like that in our lives. People who are negative, people who are gossipy, people who are kind of looking to stir up trouble. And when we listen to them and make decisions based on that, because we haven't been mindful, we haven't been meditative, we haven't been anchored and grounded, then we end up creating our own version of, the Ramayana in our own lives. Our own version of a ripple impact of bad decisions, harmful decisions, hurtful decisions, adharmic decisions. So be mindful, be meditative, be anchored, be grounded, be clear. Don't be rushed. Don't be stressed. And you'll live by your values. Other questions? Any question anyone here has? Yes, of course, please.
जय गुरुदेव।
भैया यही बताओ तो उसको यही बता दो फिर।
जय गुरुदेव and namaste Pujya Sadhviji. My name is Ajit.
Wonderful.
I live in the US in Virginia, and I'm here with my wife Sukshma, and we are here for the New Year's retreat.
Wonderful.
We've seen this satsang so many times on YouTube, and even though we are here for the first time, it feels like I've been here before. And we are super delighted to be here in your presence. So thank you so much for inspiring us to be here. On to my question. This one is a little hard for me, but a long-awaited, coveted promotion that I was expecting that would have propelled me into the executive committee has unfortunately eluded me. And I was informed about 3 months ago by my boss that he has decided to hire somebody else for that role for reasons best known to him. And he offered me a different role, but I was so devastated, so betrayed, felt so betrayed that I decided to take some time off and apply to a different role in a different department. Interviewed for it, got accepted, and when I go back, I'll be starting in my new job. So all that is fine, and I'm looking forward to starting fresh in my new role.
Wonderful.
But the mind,
Yes.
the monkey that it is, keeps going back to what the heck?
Yes.
Why did this happen? And did I do something wrong? And I don't want to feel that way.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking about Lord Krishna's teachings in the Bhagavad Gita about doing the karma and not getting attached to the expectations. But I wake up every morning and I cannot help but feel that empty feeling in the gut that something bad just happened and I deserved better. And I'm figuring out a way to move on and stop thinking about it.
So, first of all, there's a lot of lessons here. And this is something I think that every one of us, in our own ways, has experienced. Maybe not in exactly the same way of being passed over for a promotion, but this general idea of not getting something that I deserve, and it going to somebody else, whether it's the highest grade on an exam, whether it's a job, whether it's a place at a university, whether it's a romantic partner, whether it's a place on a sports team, whatever it may be. But I think every one of us has had that experience in our life of feeling like, oh my God, but I wanted that. I was supposed to get that. I deserved that. And it teaches us so many lessons. First of all, of course, the core lesson of Bhagavad Gita, non-attachment. But it also teaches us faith. And faith in the way that the divine works. It's like that wonderful story. Let me think if I can remember exactly how it goes. Okay, so you've got this poor guy and poor man and poor villager, and he has a horse, and it's all he's got. And one day his horse runs away, and everybody says, oh my God, that's so sad, that's so awful. And he says, dekhte. Let's see whatever is in God's plan. And a little while later, the horse returns with another horse. Male horse went out, met a female, or female horse had gone out, met a guy. So what had become one became two. So they say, oh, wow, you're so lucky. That's so great. That's so great. He says, take them. Let's see what's in God's plan. And shortly thereafter, his son was riding the new horse. But the new horse was not yet trained properly or tamed properly, and bucked the kid off the horse, and the kid fell and broke his leg. And everybody said, oh my God, your only son, like this is an awful thing to happen. And he said, let us see, see what's in God's hands. And a little while later, the country was at war, and the government people came through rounding up all of the able-bodied young men to serve as soldiers. But his son, of course, was in bed with a cast on his leg, and so couldn't get rounded up to go and to fight in the war. And everybody said, oh, wow, you're so lucky, you're so lucky. So there's even more parts to it. That's sort of an abbreviated version, but you get the gist. We never know what the reason is. I'll tell you a personal story on this. This goes back about 25 years. We were in Delhi, in Punjabi Bagh, at a huge katha, huge Bhagavad Katha, by Pujya Sadhvi Bhagawatiji. And there must have been tens of thousands of people. It was a huge, huge event. And coincidentally, it was my birthday that day. And it was the end of the katha when they were calling up different VIPs and people to be honored and, whatnot. It was the final day of the katha. And so at the end of the katha, and they honor the volunteers, and they honor, there were a whole bunch of different high-level government officials and whatnot. They were honoring everybody. So Pujya Swamiji brings me up onto stage. I had been in India at that point. Maybe it was more than 25 years ago. I'd been in India maybe 2 years or so still very new to everything. He calls me up and says, it's your birthday, we'll get you special honoring for your birthday. And he had me stand, maybe a few feet from him. And it was a huge stage. Imagine from that wall to that wall, maybe this far and a half again, like a huge, huge stage. And the Vyaspit is in the center where the katha was happening, and Pujya Swamiji was right there. He has me stand right next to him. And suddenly, out of the blue, he says, go over there and stand with those other people. And he told me their names. It was people we knew. And they were way at the other end of the stage, like basically on the corner of a stage that went like that way. And I hadn't yet had my birthday thing happen. And I was feeling so happy standing there next to him. And suddenly it was like this banishment of go and stand there. And I go. Feeling, it's not as big a deal as getting passed over for a big promotion, but it was from an ego perspective, a big, hit in the gut of the ego of here I was there next to you, and now you've just sent me to the farthest corner of this stage. And I'm looking back at him, and not 30 seconds later, out of the blue, the Vyaspit area where exactly I had been standing, the spot upon which I had been standing right there, goes up in flames. There had been some short circuit. Nobody had seen it before. I get to the other side. I turn back. I look. Within 30 seconds, the spot I was standing on goes up in flames. In a matter of a few minutes, the entire, it's a big fabric thing. The whole thing goes up in flames. Everybody runs out. By God's grace, everybody was saved. Nobody was hurt. It was a different story. But by God's grace, everybody was safe. But the point is, I said to Swamiji later, It's like, how did you know? He said, I didn't know. He said, it wasn't like I knew, oh my God, the spot she's standing on is going to go up in flames. I said, why did you send me all the way over there? You had called me up. He said, I don't know. He said, it was under say. It just came from inside. He said, I called you up. I wanted, it was your birthday. I wanted you to be honored for your birthday. And then as you stood there, suddenly from inside, this inner voice came to send you as far away as I possibly could. Now you think, if I had stood there, no, I won't go. I mean, obviously you couldn't say that to your guru anyway, but point is, imagine that the mind says, no, but I deserve to be here. That I would have gone up in flames. Like the whole stage did. We don't have a big enough picture to understand why things happen. But this is where faith comes in, is knowing there must be a reason. Knowing that the divine, knowing that the universe has your best interest at heart. But it doesn't have your ego interest at heart. So it's not working to, make your ego happy. It's working for your ultimate highest goal. And maybe through the lessons of being passed over for the promotion, you're growing deeper and deeper. Maybe this new place that you're working is actually a place that is much better for your spiritual evolution than the other place. But otherwise you wouldn't have left. If you got the promotion, you would have stayed. But in order to make you leave, the universe needed to do something to hurt your ego enough to catalyze you saying, forget it, I'm out of here. So the universe works, as they say, in mysterious ways. But you've got to have faith in that working of the ego. And knowing that the way that the ego is working, it's faith in the universe, but understanding the way that the ego is working is not in your highest interest. So the ego is going to say, I deserve that, I wanted that, I should have that. But the universe is working actually for your highest goal. So this is where you learn to just have faith.
Wow, thanks for sharing that personal story, and let's hope I just escaped a short circuit. Thank you so much.
Well, whether the short circuit is going to happen in your former company or not, make sure that you don't short circuit in your mind and heart.
Well said.
And that's up to you. That's up to you. Because resentment and anger are fire. And they'll blow up. They'll blow up one day. So as you're here, have a beautiful bath in Ganga. Let her extinguish the flames. So there's no possibility of any short circuit ever.
Thank you, Sadhviji.
That's wonderful. Yeah, other questions? Yes.
My name is Namaste.
Namaste.
My name is Raisha. I am a student. I am coming from Delhi. My question is how to control anger and how to improve concentration level.
How old are you?
11.
Wonderful. Come here. There you go. And what is your name again?
My name is Raisha.
Raisha. Beautiful. Beautiful. So we have Raisha, who's 11. How do we control our anger and improve our concentration? Is that what you said? Great. So, what makes you angry?
Anyone says me, you are bad, and
Tell me, like, what makes you angry? If you want to learn to control your anger, what makes you angry?
And you were saying me you are bad, or you are very angry girl.
Okay. So if someone criticizes you, you mean,
Yes.
right? Have you ever met someone who's blind and can't see? Okay. Have you met somebody who's blind and can't see? Okay. So there's a lot of people who are blind, they cannot see. There's also a lot of people who have what we call colorblindness, where they can see some colors, but they cannot see other colors. And so I forget exactly how it works, but it's like instead of seeing red, they see blue. We would see this as, purple, they would see it as blue, for example. So if someone who's colorblind says to me, that blue shawl really doesn't go with your sari, like that's a very bad fashion decision, I have a couple of choices. Choice number one, I can feel very bad. Oh, I look awful today, and every time I pass a mirror, I can look in it and I can feel, oh my God, everybody must be laughing at me, criticizing me, I look awful. Or I can understand, this guy is colorblind. He cannot see I have a beautiful burgundy shawl that goes so nicely with my sari. His eyes are the problem, not my shawl. In the same way, if somebody says to you, you are bad, or you are ugly, or you are this, or you are that, and they criticize you, you have two choices. Either you believe them, and then you feel very bad, or you realize, oh, problem is in their eyes. And that's what you need to do. Realize the problem is in their eyes. They cannot see. It's not their fault. Don't hate them. Don't yell at them. But just recognize they cannot see. They cannot see clearly. They cannot see how wonderful I am. They cannot see what a beautiful girl I am. They cannot see what a good girl I am. So if somebody says you're bad, just in your mind think, I hope you get well soon. Okay? Just think that in your mind. Don't say it to them because that'll just make them even more mad. But in your mind, because if somebody's sick, you don't want to make them feel worse. So just understand, they can't see properly. They have some kind of an illness that has ruined their eyes. They cannot see. So in your mind, just pray for them. Oh God, I hope they get well soon. Oh God, fix their eyes. Because you are divine, right? You're not bad, you're divine. But when they say that, if you get angry, does that help the situation? What happens when you get angry?
I'm arguing that you did not say that and this.
And when you get angry, then what do?
I'm arguing that...
Do you speak nicely? When you're angry, do you speak nicely? No? Do you speak softly and gently? So how do you speak?
Angrier, very angrier.
So you become what they said you were. So you become what they said you were. That doesn't make any sense. That's like somebody who's colorblind telling me I have an ugly blue shawl. Then I go and I take my beautiful burgundy shawl and I dye it blue because this guy thinks it's blue. Would that make any sense? That would be kind of silly, no? Instead, I recognize he's colorblind, he cannot see. So you pray, oh God, Heal them. Make them better. Make them get well soon. Because you know, I am not what they say. But if you become what they say, then you're just proving that they were right. So that doesn't help anything. So when you know that you are not bad, that you are divine and beautiful and wonderful, well, then you have to act like that. Right?
Yes.
I mean, if somebody says, you are a tiger, and then you get very angry and you bite them, well, you've become like a tiger. But if you know, I'm not a tiger, I'm a girl, I'm a divine girl, I am this embodiment of the divine, well, then you don't turn into a tiger and bite them instead. Right?
Yes.
Good. And then your second question was about concentration. So what happens to your concentration? Tell me about the problem.
I'm studying, and my concentration level is around what people are saying and this.
In the same room, you mean, or just in your mind? Like you're getting distracted by things in your room or things in your mind? Distracted, yes, but distracted because the people around you or the people in your mind?
Around you.
Okay. So first of all, you need a quiet space.
Okay.
You need to create a quiet space. Do you have your own bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. So your bedroom is going to become a quiet space.
Okay.
Can you make a sign for your bedroom door that says, quiet, please? I want you to make a sign for your bedroom door that says, quiet, please. Divine minds at work. Can you do that? Why not? Make a sign. No, don't write on the door. Make a sign with nice paper and pens or crayons or whatever it is, or paint it. Quiet, please. Divine minds at work. Okay?
Okay.
Then, in your room, you have to keep it quiet. It means, number one, no phone. You don't use a mobile phone, do you?
No.
Right answer. Good. And as you get older, even if you get a mobile phone, means no phone in the room. No phone in your room. Because what's the point of keeping out the distractions from outside if you just create more distractions on the inside? Then there's no point. No phones in the room. No TV in the room. Just books, homework, maybe some music, nice music, and you and your beautiful mind. And then whenever you need to do anything that you have to concentrate, you go in the room. Don't do it sitting at the dining room table while all of the neighbors are around having chai and pakoras. Because then you will always be distracted, okay? So can you do that for me?
Yes.
Okay. You think that'll help your concentration? Good. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, we'll take this as the last question. Come. Yeah.
Hello.
Stay.
Hi, my name is Gaurav Charya. First of all, thank you so much for inviting us over this spiritual practice or one-on-one questions that you're taking. I visited to Rishikesh last year. I attended one of your sessions and it really helped me out through my difficult situation. I was dealing at that point of time. And my current question is around, because I've been following you on Instagram, I've been seeing how you convey messages and the way you articulate, right? And that is one thing that I want to learn from you. Secondly, you have answered to all of the questions. In fact, like the other person's asked about his work life. I'm facing a challenge over there as well while, articulating myself to convey my thoughts. And secondly, there are people around us which we cannot turn off, right? They try to poke to us. We need to stay there and we need to keep on working as well, because they try to poke and tell something or maybe spread any rumor around our manager to make things worse for us, right? So I'm facing such kind of problem in my workplace, and I'm trying to learn the way you communicate as well.
Yeah. So this is, in a way, kind of part and parcel of, as we say, living in the world. Whether it's in school, whether it's workplace, whether it's community, whether it's neighbors, almost inevitably, there's going to be some kind of a clash with some people. Hopefully there'll be some people you connect nicely with, but inevitably there will be people you don't. And especially work, and especially school, because those are very competitive situations. Make sure not to take on someone else's projection. If someone sees you and they want to bring you down, that's their stuff. You don't take that on. Don't take on their negative projection. You stay in your truth of not competition, of just doing your very best work, of staying anchored and grounded in truth, in joy, in peace, because that's more important than all the money in the world. People spend huge sums of money looking for peace, looking for happiness, looking for wellness. But the way that we make a lot of choices is actually harming our joy, harming our peace, harming our health. So you make sure that your actions, your thoughts, your words are all in alignment with peaceful mind, peaceful heart, love-filled heart, joy-filled mind. Make sure that all of your choices are in alignment with that, and you stay anchored in that. If someone else is coming at this situation with their projection of negativity to bring you down, it's their stuff. The Buddha said so beautifully, don't worry about trying to run around extinguishing all of the different fires in people's hearts. You just become a river of compassion, so that whenever anybody comes near you, even with all the fire, automatically their fire is extinguished. Not because you have to run around putting out the fires, but you just focus on becoming that river of love, and the fires will automatically be extinguished. But don't take them on. It's like I was just talking with our sweet young sister. Don't take on somebody else's story. Somebody says you're bad, that's their problem. Don't make it your problem. Somebody's trying to harm you in the workplace and bring you down, that's their problem. Don't take it on as your problem. I remember when I was an undergrad at Stanford, they would give exams. All of our exams, all of our papers got given. It was a very non-private system at all. Outside the lecture halls, there were these wooden mailboxes by last name. And depending on what your last name was, your exam would be in that box. And anybody could basically stand there and kind of look at how everybody else did if you wanted to see everybody's scores or you were looking for a particular person. And I found out that there was this woman in the class who, I didn't even know her. But she had made it her goal that kuch bhi ho jaye, she was going to get a better score on exams than I was. Now, how did she know me? Because I was the type who sat in the front row and raised my hand and asked questions at 8 o'clock in the morning. And nobody did that. And so she had gotten in her mind this competition of like, who's this woman sitting in the front asking questions, and how dare she, and kya samajhti aap apne aap ko, to like ask questions, you know, in the morning. And so she had created this whole story in her mind. And again, I didn't even know her. I didn't even know that this was existing until much later. Somebody told me, hey, you know, yeah, there's this other woman in the class, and her only goal is to do better than you. And I thought, how sad. Like, let her have the aim of doing well, that's wonderful. But what if I don't do well? Let's say I get a C on an exam. Let's say I get a C minus, and she gets a C plus. So she's going to be happy with her C plus just because it's better than my C minus? Like, that makes no sense. She should want to do well, regardless of how I do. But this happens to people. People get this competitive nature in mind. It doesn't serve them. It doesn't help. But don't get wrapped up in it. Don't let it ruin your mood. Don't let it ruin your life. Pray for them. Have compassion for them. And you just keep doing your work. You keep living your life. You become that river of compassion, that river of love, that river of joy. But don't take it on. Great. Have a beautiful rest of your evenings, everyone. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from all over the world online. We started satsang a bit late this evening. Just for those of you in the retreat, we started it a bit late because the arti started late, went longer as Pujya Swamiji was out and then came. But I mention it in case if by chance you ever come into satsang without going to the arti. I hope that you go to the arti every night. It's the most divine thing that happens, so don't miss it. But if by chance, for any reason, you aren't there, typically we start satsang closer to about 6:30, 6:45. It's always just about 10 to 15 minutes after the arti ends, satsang starts. So tonight's time was much later because arti ended much later. But have a wonderful rest of the evening and so much love to you, and look forward to seeing you all